to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 59. I'm Ryan, and Cheryl's not here. And there's a very distinct reason for it. I'm going to get her here in just a moment, however. So I'm actually going to give her a call on the old-fashioned telephone, and then we'll see if she can explain what's going on.
Hello?
Hey, Cheryl, it's Ryan.
Hey, Ryan.
So you're on the podcast.
Oh, hi. Is this a prank call?
This is not a prank call. But I do think that the listeners probably are a little curious why you're on the phone right now. Why aren't we just recording normally?
I know. So I'm getting married in a couple days.
So exciting!
So I know. I'm stoked. So,
And yet you're taking time
Yeah, I'm
out
on
to
the
record a
phone.
podcast.
yes, I am. Well, we were going to be one episode short, and that was not acceptable. So here we are. I have a little bit of downtime tonight, though, but I'm not near my computer at home. So, yeah, we were going to have an episode come out that was that we already recorded a long time ago that was planning my honeymoon. And for people who have been listening, we've been talking about my honeymoon for a while
Yeah.
now. But it just changed this week. So it's kind of a bummer, but also I felt like it was an interesting travel story, so I felt like I should talk about it.
As someone with a podcast
like-
does.
Yeah, I was like, I would want to know. Like, I would think it's an interesting story. So, yeah, so my fiance and I planned a trip to Prague, Dresden, and Amsterdam, leaving the day after our wedding, and we booked it back in June. And also in June, he applied for his first ever passport, because listeners might remember Daryl's first ever flight was last December.
Right.
So he's new to the travel game, and
But
so
enthusiastic and
to go to
excited
Europe.
about it.
Yes, for sure, yeah. And so he applied for a passport, and I was booking the trip. And I, to be honest, had a little bit of a, like, in the back of my mind, should I be booking a trip when he doesn't have his passport yet? But also it was like, well, he's applying for it right now, and, like, we're, 6 months out, so we're fine.
Now, when you say booking a
So
trip,
he
what
went-
sorts of things were you booking at that point?
So I went through a travel agent, and she booked our flights and 5 nights of hotels
Okay.
for us. And so flights for 2 people to and from Europe with 1 layover each way, and 5 nights of hotels was $2,000.
Okay.
So I would say that's a good price.
Yeah.
I say that because I felt like, yeah, this is a great price. And she's a AAA travel agent, and she's been really great. And she there's a common deal that she can get where if she books a flight, that she can get 3 free nights at a hotel.
Wow.
So we had her do that, and then we booked some hotels near airports on nights that we're going to be near airports. And then I also booked travel insurance, which I've talked about on the podcast. And I get travel insurance because my brother-in-law had cancer, and over the years had to cancel 3 different trips to Europe and was able to get his money back.
Mhm.
And so any large ticket like that, I like to get travel insurance. And I haven't read the details of it, but I figured, like, if for whatever reason I have to cancel, I have travel insurance, so I'm fine. I also kind of knew, I think they, like, give you some good protection while you're on the trip.
Yeah.
They'll kind of help you out with different things. And so, anyway, I figured, like, great, that's smart, we're good. And then Daryl's passport wasn't arriving and wasn't arriving and wasn't arriving. And it was just kind of getting to this point, I think it was like October, where I was like, can you check on that? Because this is weird now.
Yeah, because typically
And he checked on
a passport would take, what, like 6 to 8 weeks, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of getting long enough that I asked him to follow up on it because our trip was just a couple months out.
Yeah.
So he checked on it, and they had sent it to the address from his license, not the address he gave them to send it to.
Because he's recently moved, right?
Yes. The address from his license was an address in Spokane, and he now lives in Seattle. So it was sent to Spokane and sent back, and then they voided it.
Okay.
So that was frustrating already because instead of trying to contact him, it just was canceled because it was sent back.
Yeah.
And he wasn't told that it was. So that was something where, like, if we're trying to learn some lessons from the story,
Yeah.
one lesson that I have, and I wouldn't have thought to do this either. However, one lesson I would have is, was there like a tracking number he could have used to check up on it? And the thing is, he gave them an address to send it to. So, like, I don't think he did anything wrong, but it's an interesting thought of, like, is the address on your license the correct one?
Yeah.
You know, just things like that, because the government, and that's the address they have for him, so that's what they used, even though there was something different on the application.
Right.
So then he started the process all over, and this is just a couple months out, so it's already kind of like getting a little scary. But it was like, okay, if he gets on it, we'll be fine. So he made an appointment, went in, and they said, well, you need to give us single-sided copies, and they cannot be color. They need to be black and white. And he did double-sided copies in color of his license and his birth certificate. So they sent him away. He had to get new copies, made a second appointment. At the second appointment, they said, your birth certificate actually says void in the background. And his birth certificate is a reprint that he got a couple of years ago. And when he got the reprint from a hospital, they printed on paper that said void in the background. And so,
Great.
And mind you, he was issued a passport already once. So the government was fine with it one time.
Yeah.
But then this individual at this post office is being picky. And I mean, probably rightfully so. It was just so odd.
Yeah.
That, like, he's already been issued a passport. So then he had to go to, there's like, I think one hospital per county that will reprint your birth certificate for you. So he went to the closest one, which is in Seattle, and got a new birth certificate. He goes back to his appointment, and so this is now a third appointment. And his last name on his birth certificate is different than his last name now, because his mom had his last name changed when he was a kid.
Oh, boy.
His dad's last name. And he doesn't have the paper showing that. Now, he has a Social Security card with the correct last name, and he has an ID with the correct last name, but that doesn't matter because it's not on his birth certificate.
Of course it doesn't matter.
Then he had to go back to Yakima, where he was born. Or not, it doesn't matter where he was born. He had to go to Yakima because that's where his name was changed.
Oh.
And he had to go get the paper from 1989 proving that his name was changed to that.
Oh,
And so
jeez.
he had to take a day off of work because it had to be on a business day and drive out there. And so he was sent to like 4 different offices that day.
Oh,
No, you don't go
gosh.
here, you go there. And then they said, well, you don't go here, you go there. So he's sent all over. Finally goes to the corrected office. And the paperwork was on microfilm because it was old. And their microfilm reader was broken.
Oh, my gosh.
So they said, well, we're going to have it fixed next week, and we'll call you when it is fixed, and then we can mail it to you. And so he said, okay. So he calls them the following week, and they say, well, our supervisor's out all week, so we can't do anything right now.
Oh, jeez.
So
Louise.
each of these are like another week going by. So you can sense the countdown happening towards our trip.
And what's happening to the stress level as this countdown continues?
Well, so for me, once I realized like he wasn't getting his first passport, I was no longer feeling excited about our trip or thinking about the trip because every time I thought about it, I just felt this dread of
Yeah.
the situation.
Yeah.
And so it was weird because, I mean, you know how excited I get about things coming up, especially a trip. And I just was like, could not let myself get excited. And so, and it felt fake to say I was even going, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going at this point. But I kept thinking, it's fine though. I mean, it's not fine. It would suck. However, also we have travel insurance, so we're fine.
Yeah.
You know, like, we could always cancel the trip, get our money back with our travel insurance, you know, book a new trip. That would suck. I want to go on this trip, but that was, you know, we could do that. So then, finally, 2 weeks after going to Yakima, they finally issue the papers, and he asked his mom to pick it up because she lives there. And we went to visit his mom and got the papers. Now he has his paper. And by this point, it was 3 weeks before the trip. So if he goes to the normal route, he won't get it in time.
Right.
He can do expedited. There is a version of expedited through the post office where I believe it's 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
So that still wouldn't work. There is a version of expedited where you can go to like a downtown passport office, like the official passport office.
Yeah.
You cannot have an appointment there until you are 2 weeks out from your trip or less. So he had everything he needed and could make an appointment for, our trip was going to be leaving on a Monday. So he could make an appointment for the Tuesday 2 weeks before that.
Oh my gosh.
The earliest he could have an appointment. So I went with him for moral support, and I was reading all the fine print, and there was one thing that said, like, we won't issue you a passport if blank. And that applied to him, maybe. It was like an old thing, but like sometimes when you get on a list that you are whatever, he's not a felon or anything, but just there was one stipulation that I was like, we'll see. But also they issued him a passport once. So like, and so I go with him, and it had said to arrive 30 minutes before the appointment. We hit a lot more traffic than we did. We were not 30 minutes before the appointment, and I made the appointment for right when the building opens. And we pulled up, and there was such a huge line for security that we realized that we won't be able to make it to the appointment in time. Because parking and waiting for security, and they won't let you have your appointment if it's late. They just move on. And
of course they do.
That was really disappointing because we thought, like, we're going to find out today, and then we didn't. And so he made an appointment for the following day, and he went back on his own and arrived like an hour before his appointment because you have to go through like 3 different security lines. And then you go to a person at a window, and they check that you have everything, and then you wait, and then you have your appointment and like give them all the paperwork and everything. Yeah. And he said most of the people in the area had a trip like the next day or something like that.
Wow.
So I think they take the last minute thing very seriously.
Yeah.
My boss was able to get a passport in 2 days one time when she did that route.
Wow.
Passport. Yeah, so they can make it happen. So he was told it was on a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, that he went to this appointment. And then they said, okay, well, we issue them on Mondays, which I'm guessing maybe they make an exception if it's like needed the next day. But I think, normally they issue them on Mondays. I'm guessing they'd have to pay more if you do it before then.
Sure.
And then the earliest they could have mailed it to him would have been on that Wednesday, which would have been yesterday. So they gave him a pickup time that he could just go pick it up. Okay. So then he went on Monday and went to pick it up, and then they didn't have it, and so they sent him somewhere else. And then he found out that he was denied a passport.
So was he denied a passport at all, or just denied this expedited passport?
At all.
So, like, he can never get a passport?
Well, not never. Just not now.
That's so, first of all, frustrating. And second, weird, because they already gave him one.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, we were going to leave, let's see, today's Thursday. I found this out on Tuesday, and we were going to leave this coming Monday.
Yeah.
And so I'd given my travel agent a heads up a couple weeks ago when I realized this is getting really tight.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I might need to cancel this trip. Here's what's going on. I need some advice. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And so she said, well, and I said, can you tell me about the travel insurance? What can we do? And she said, unfortunately, your travel insurance doesn't cover any passport issues. And so
What?
And she said, I will send it to you, and you can see if anything applies to you at all. So then I read all the travel insurance stuff, and none of it even half applies to me. It's not even like I could, even if I wanted to fudge something, it wasn't even like I could say, like, well, Daryl can't get off work, so we can't go. That wouldn't work. If he got a job that moved him over 300 miles away from the airport we were flying out of, that would work. It had a lot more to do with, like, serious problems. Like, your doctor says you can't fly right now. You have an immediate family member with medical issues, stuff like that.
Huh.
So, and then also, and I mean, travel insurance, like, it's still, if you're abroad and you have medical issues while you're on your trip, it'll help you up to $2,000. So, like,
Yeah.
it is a good thing. And if I was diagnosed with cancer, like my brother-in-law, it would have been perfect, you know?
Right.
So, like, I would still get it in the future.
Yeah.
But for months, I had this peace of mind knowing I had my travel insurance. And then it was like, oh, it's not going to do anything for me. Also, then I found out the cancellation fees were so high that I wasn't going to get any money back.
You're kidding.
So then I was asking my travel agent, well, what if I rebooked the trip like a year from now? And she said that the rebooking fees were so high that I wouldn't get any money back either, or actually even be able, I could rebook it and it would cost almost as much as the trip, so then I'd be paying even more to rebook it. So I asked her, like, can you help me get creative? What can we do? Because Daryl and I were still determined to go on a honeymoon.
Yeah.
So we were like, I guess we're eating this cost and going to book a new trip, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. You know, a trip in December and last minute. And a place we've been wanting to go to for a long time is New Orleans.
Okay.
We've never been there. We've never been to that area of the country, other than I've been to Florida for Disney World, but I feel like that doesn't really count as saying I've been to that area of the country. And so, but we're both foodies, and I've just heard really good things. And this time of year, I was looking up, like, what the weather is like, and it's like 50 to 60 degrees. And it's a nice time to go because it's kind of fun at Christmas, but it's not like the high season, so it's not crazy. And it's not hot like the summer and humid. So so we had started looking at, like, could I use miles to do that? Could we get an Airbnb? Like, how could we do this knowing we're losing this money on this trip? You know, how could we not spend a ton more and still get to go on a fun trip? Because I was like, I refuse to sit at home and not go on a honeymoon and cry about not going to Europe.
Yeah.
Like, that will not be the day after my wedding what I'm going to be doing.
No.
And so fortunately, my travel agent said, well, let me see. I'm going to call and see if I can just get you another trip and just, like, use what you spent and do another trip. So what she was able to do is the hotels at this point in the game were non-refundable.
Okay.
So we couldn't get money back from the hotels. But some of them had been thrown in for free anyway, so that was fine.
Right, that helps.
There were some changing fees to do with, like, booking another trip, but she was able to get me about $1,000 to use towards something else.
Wait, I thought you said that there weren't fees, or, like, all the fees would be equal to the cost.
Well, if you changed it to, like, another time of year, I don't understand why. I don't know.
So if you do the same trip but at a different time, then it was a wash. But if you change it to a completely different trip, maybe because it's closer, it's not as far, it's not international, but somehow that was better.
I'm not sure why the fees were different. That was weird to me.
Okay.
But the cool thing was, honestly, like, my mental capacity at that point was also really low. And the idea of researching hotels and trying to find flights, I was like, I'm getting married in less than a week, and I'm trying to plan a new trip, and I'm so over all of this, you know, and I'm just so tired. And so it was great because she knows how to research hotels, and she knows what is going to be a good one. She looked up all these combos of flights for me, and she called and stayed on hold and was able to get it all transferred over. And so I had to pay like a few $100s for it. And a couple hours later, my new trip was booked.
Wow.
And the travel insurance, since I'm not using it for this trip, and it covers a really high amount, and it covers medical stuff in a foreign country, she said if you want to put it off for a year and use it sometime next year for a trip, if you think you might be going abroad, we can do that.
Oh,
So
that's good.
instead of just applying it to this lower cost trip that may not really be worth it, and it's in the States, so like I'm probably fine.
Yeah.
So that's nice that I can use it for a future trip. Airbnb, I had an Airbnb booked for Dresden. They gave me all of my money but $40 back.
That's great.
So they were really nice with the refund and just a couple weeks out. And then I hadn't booked trains or anything yet. I booked one tour. We booked a beer tour in Prague. A couple days before this all happened, they emailed me and said, we're so sorry, but unfortunately we are canceling our beer tours. So we need to either give you a refund or transfer your money to like a food tour or something.
Oh, wow.
So I emailed them and said, I would like my refund, please. And they gave me a refund.
Oh, that's good.
So that was awesome. Yeah. So really, like, all in all, when I was looking at getting none of my money back, then to spend, like, just a little bit more on it, like a flight and 7 nights in a hotel.
Yeah.
And we're staying in the French Quarter, so, like, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm excited, and I'm able to, like, get excited about this.
Yay. I'm glad.
I am so tired from wedding stuff and everything that I kind of have some relief right now about not going to Europe.
Yeah.
And
because you're just going to be in one hotel in one city the whole time.
Yep.
You're not going around and going from this city in this country to this city in that country, which is super fun for you and you enjoy.
Yes.
But as we've said on this podcast before, sometimes you don't rest like you need to. And it sounds like more than normal, you need some rest.
I know. Yeah.
So maybe, that's a good thing.
Like, it's kind of a relief. Well, and after not knowing for months what was going to happen, just getting an answer was really nice, too.
Yeah.
So that was great. So, yeah, and then both my sisters have been there, so they started sending me ideas.
Oh, that's
cool. One of my sisters has a friend who's a chef in New Orleans.
Oh.
She got me connected with her. She's going to give us a tour of her kitchen and talk food with us while we're there.
How cool.
She sent us a whole list of recommendations of places to eat and go. And we were going to leave. We were going to leave for Europe on Monday and get back on a Wednesday the following week, and I was going to work on that Thursday. This trip we're doing Tuesday to Tuesday, which means I have a buffer day on either side of the trip. And it's only 3 hours different in time.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really nice too.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling good. I'm excited. We're not going to book a thing, but I have a whole list going. I have all my Google Maps stars, so I have lots of ideas, but I think we're just going to play it day to day, see what we want to do.
Yeah.
There's some Christmas markets down there, so I still get to go to Christmas markets.
Oh, yay!
So I'm feeling good about it now. It seems like a really nice ending to this headache that it's been. But this is also just kind of like a good reminder to read the fine print in things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're getting insurance, to figure out what it covers. If you're buying a really expensive ticket, to find out what the cancellation fees are up front. Fortunately, with this travel agent, like, it seems like maybe my cancellation fees were higher because of her, because I hear about people switching their flights all the time. So that really confused me.
Yeah.
Why it wasn't as easy for me to do that. However, she also provided so much support.
Yeah.
And that was really great because I did not have more energy to put towards this. And I think that's her job. So she was doing it, and then also I think she just had a lot of compassion for the situation, was really trying to work with me.
Yeah.
I think she even talked them down a little bit and how much they charged me extra. I mean,
That's
so
nice.
that was just really nice because I was just like, I don't have time to figure out where to stay right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that was really great. So, yeah, so after, I think in the new year, we will do a trip report episode. We'll have Daryl on for that, too, because people could use some fresh voices. But, yeah, I just wanted to share that because I feel like for all of our listeners who are travelers, like, I think there's some good things to be learned from this story.
Yeah.
Also, I will never again book a trip without a passport. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it seems, all of the things are not your typical things that happen. And it was one random weird exception after the other, but it still happened.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it was weird because we kept being like, I'm sure this will work out. I'm sure this will work out. And I was like, I mean, this trip didn't work out. The situation and all, like, we're fine,
Yeah.
And we're not out an amount of money where we're, like, going to not have a home. Where, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
this won't do us damage for years.
Yeah.
But we did lose money, And,
Yeah.
like, so, yeah. I think I'm probably still going to be a proponent for travel insurance, but I might want to shop around plans.
Yeah.
With, like,
yeah. Try and find out
like
if
what all
there's
is covered.
Yeah, is there a travel insurance out there that would have covered this situation? And if so, what's the price difference?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And would that be worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, in this case, it would have been worth it. But that's the whole point of insurance, right? You never know.
Yeah.
You can't predict those things.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I'm excited. It's going to be good. And now it's like, I guess it's like, it feels like I get this, like, spontaneous last-minute trip. So that's kind of fun, being like, oh, my gosh, we're going to New Orleans next week.
Yeah.
Great.
That's cool. Well, and then we've also, as we've been talking with guests and, being now in season 2, and we've done quite a bit of reflecting on what we've learned from talking to so many people. One of the things that I know that you've said several times is kind of wanting to do the idea of not having things quite as structured, but have a list of things that you want to do and then just kind of more play it by ear. And now you get a chance to try that out and see what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that came from caring less and, like, putting less pressure on this trip.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was not a plan to even go to this city.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to go to this city, but it's like this, and I think the idea of, like, being in one place for 7 days feels like there's going to be less pressure on each day.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have to fit it all in. And then also, like, I don't think there's anything in particular that I'm like, if I miss this one thing, I will be super bummed. It's like, I just want to go there and eat some food and see some sights. But there's nothing where it's going to be like a make or break. I mean, I'm going to want to eat a beignet for sure.
Just one?
Actually, my food list is pretty long.
I'll bet it is.
I'm really glad this trip is after my wedding because my wedding dress is very fitted. And so I'm glad that it's after. Yep.
Yup.
I think it's going to be a really good distressor trip. Yeah. And I've heard the advice from people before to do a chill honeymoon. And I was kind of like, well, too bad because I want to go to Europe. I'm like, I mean, I still want to go to Europe. But also, like, now I understand. Like, I didn't think my stress level would be where it is.
Yeah.
And so it's a different type of stress level because I've now hit the point where I do not care about anything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where it's like the chill trip is going to be good because I need to not care on this trip so much, and I think that's going to be like, we're going to go to the South and eat some gumbo,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I have a wish you were here.
Yeah, because you did a cool thing.
did a cool thing.
In the midst
This is
of
also
this craziness.
on the same day that all this went down, that evening.
Oh, it was that
This
same
cool thing.
day?
Uh-huh. It was a big day.
Was that
Yeah.
planned for that day just on purpose or?
No, that was just the day. I mean, it was planned. It wasn't planned because of that, but
Right.
like that was the day we were gonna go on this thing. So Daryl surprised me with this date, and this is also now my number one piece of wedding planning advice: is to go on a fun date the week before your wedding that has nothing to do with your wedding, because it was so fun just to be like, oh, we're just enjoying each other and not doing anything productive right now.
Yeah.
And just having fun. So yeah, it's at the Mariners Stadium, which I think of as Safeco Field. However, it is not Safeco Field. It is T-Mobile Park. Park, is that the word?
Yeah, park. Yeah, that's gonna be a
Yeah.
hard transition to me. I mean, I think it's been that way for over a year now, but I'm the same thing because it was Safeco
Yeah.
Field when it opened in 1999, and they
Yeah.
just changed it. So
Yeah. So anyway, at the Mariners Stadium, we'll call it that. And I think it's for the whole Christmas season, I believe.
yeah, I
And,
think you're right. I think so.
And this does cost money. So Daryl got tickets for this. He saw it on Facebook advertised a couple weeks ago, and he was like, told me he was booking a surprise date, and I got very excited. So it was great. So it's on the field. They have a Christmas lights maze and ice skating.
What
And
is a
then-
Christmas lights maze? What does that mean?
It's all these different like structures made of Christmas lights. There's like a big house and different like almost like sculptures made of Christmas lights. It's like giant ornaments and a giant like doll and ducky and airplane. All these like things made out of Christmas lights. But it's kind of a maze in that like you get lost in it.
Okay.
It didn't seem like a maze, and I think there was more than one way out.
Okay.
We didn't actually get lost, but like it's like a maze, I think. And then there's also ice skating in part of it. So like you look at the field and it's just like lights and a big tree and like on this big screens there were snowflakes falling. And Christmas music playing. So that was magical. But before you even get to that, when you first get in and you're on that like 100th level where all the concessions are, all the different food vendors,
Yeah.
it's a Christmas market. So they have all these foods, and then they have all these like craft booths and things like that.
Oh.
So so some of the vendors are just the vendors that are already there, and then they brought in all these additional vendors. So you could get hot mulled wine. We got dumplings for dinner, but they had all sorts of fun foods to choose from. Lots of fun desserts too. They have the edible cookie dough there.
I mean, as
They
we've said before,
have-
all cookie dough is technically edible, just saying.
I mean, I would agree with you.
But the cookie dough that was designed not to be made into
Preserved,
cookies.
Yeah. They just have like all these fun foods there, and then they have like a fun drink that was in this like upside down plastic light bulb that was safe to drink out of with like lights on the inside of it. It looked very festive.
Huh. That's interesting.
And then the other direction, so that was like on like this whole section, and then they had all these areas to sit. And they had different benches and all these places that I think maybe are just normally sitting areas there, but I think maybe they added some stuff too. There were like Adirondack chairs and stuff.
Oh.
And all of them were looking out to the field, so you could just sit, and with no one else around, you just look at the lights. And so it was so fun. And then there was a whole market section where it felt kind of like Pike Place in the like different like crafts or arts or a photographer, different things like that. So you could look at the different little booths along there. And then there were carolers. There was a Santa photo opportunity that we didn't do. I think it cost money, and Santa's going to be at my wedding, so I'm fine.
Yeah. Yep. You're good.
And then they had like a Build-A-Bear station.
Oh, really?
And then a craft station. Yeah, like the Build-A-Bear workshop was there
Oh,
doing a thing.
funny.
So, yeah, so it was so fun. Part of what made it really fun was it wasn't too crowded.
Oh.
Yeah, And I think so. There's like I think a limited number of tickets per different time slots when you can enter. I think you can leave whenever you want when it closes, but there's like you have to choose when you're coming. And but then also we went on December 3rd, so we went a little earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that might have helped as well. And we did like a 5 p.m. time slot, so it was more on the early side of the evening as well. That there was space to walk.
That's nice.
Which just like made it, because like Snowflake Lane in Bellevue, we've talked about it. It is really fun, but it's so stinking crowded these days that I don't really enjoy it as much. And I think that's one thing I've learned as I get older is I'm like, I kind of just want a little more space, want to enjoy things and walking places.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't crazy crowded. And so that was really nice. We didn't have to wait in line for any of the foods we got. In the maze, we could kind of walk around without a ton of other people around us.
Nice.
And then the ice skating was like, it was a fun little loop and everything, and that was really fun. So,
and the ice skating is included in the price?
What?
The ice skating is included with the tickets, or was that extra?
No, you had to add the ice skating rental.
Okay.
Like, the ice skates rental.
Yeah.
They were the nicest ice skates I've ever worn.
Oh.
Like, they were not painful. It was very weird.
Nice.
And very easy to put on. I've worn a lot of crappy ice skates at different rental places.
Well,
so,
yeah. So I've looked up their website. So it looks like it's called Enchant. And
it's a weird name.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And I guess they have a theme. This year's theme is mischievous. I don't know if it seemed mischievous to you while you were there.
Why not?
Sure. It runs it started November 22nd, which I think is the week before Thanksgiving this year. And it runs until December 29th. So just a little bit, not quite up to New Year's, it looks like. Also, it looks like there are 2 other cities that also have some version of this. So St. Petersburg, Florida, and Washington, D.C. I'm guessing they're, the same, company that does Enchant. Also, I'm pretty sure last year was the first year they had it here. Because I looked into it last year, but it didn't go.
Because I hadn't really heard about it being in Seattle very much before. So
no.
That would make sense. They're advertising hard on Facebook, though, right now.
Oh, yeah?
I'm seeing it pop up all the time. Yeah.
Interesting. But that's
or
cool.
Maybe it's just their demographic.
Apparently. But that's cool. I'm glad you got that, and it sounds like it's super fun. And you, again, a little bit of the markets.
Yeah. I know. It was great. It was a good time. And anywhere I can get hot mulled wine, I'm all about that. So, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, so I would recommend that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Cheryl.
Yes.
Thank you for taking time out of mere days before your wedding to record a new podcast episode.
For sure. It was kind of good to debrief everything that happened, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Ryan's going to be in my wedding, so that's exciting.
I am. I was just thinking through how this weekend I'm obviously not doing as much wedding as you are, but it's a very full wedding or full weekend.
It is.
I mean, it's a full wedding too,
Yeah.
but it's a full weekend. So we got all sorts of stuff happening this weekend. So
it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, unless there's anything else, Cheryl, I think we can wrap it up for this episode.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. We would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwy Podcast. That's at TMWY Podcast on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
You can also email us at timwypodcast@gmail.com. Send us a story about a time when you had a weird passport situation or ticket situation or something. I need to know I'm not alone. So, also, I think we need to learn from each other's travel issues. I think this is an important thing.
Yeah.
So, tell us all about it.
Absolutely. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail with your story or your cautionary tale, if you will, at 406-763-8699. Or if it's easier to remember, that's 406 Pod Timwe. We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on whatever you're using to listen to this podcast. If you go ahead and subscribe, you can make sure that you'll get an update anytime we post a new episode. And if you can share on social media, you might be able to share some of the tips from Cheryl's less than ideal trip planning that thankfully still turned out okay.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for our awesome artwork. You can check out more of her artwork at Beth Is Something. Also, she is currently downstairs making my wedding cake, and hopefully she'll post pictures of it at Beth Is Something.
There you go.
And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
For the next couple of episodes, we've got a couple of holiday-themed episodes for y'all, so make sure that you stick around. I know the holidays get really busy, so if you don't have time to listen at your normal listening schedule, that's totally fine. They'll be waiting for you when you're ready. But know that we've got a couple of holidays, and then after Cheryl and Daryl head out to do their New Orleans adventure, we'll record another episode so we can hear how it all went, which I'm very excited to hear because I'm excited for you to experience it.
Yeah.
But until next time, please remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and a little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to explore, and all our troubles here want them to be ignored. Oh, let's go to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil.